So this is your 7th album now?
It is.
And the sound is different, but I feel artists you're always going to be growing, changing. You get older, you like a different sound before.
It's very sensible of you to think that way. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We think that way. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I hear sometimes different fans, they start hating, oh, they've changed. They haven't changed. Everyone, you have changed. You're getting older, you're traveling, you're doing more things, you're hearing more music. I think, Sarah, you said it's a bigger, bolder, happier sound. Do you feel like with this album, with Heartthrob, that the sound is more you guys changing or more changing for your fans, or just the music industry, like you had to kind of push it in a certain way?
I think it's a combination of things. You know, when we made So Jealous, which we put out in 2004, I remember a lot of conversations around, oh, your sound has changed. Because we were using keyboards. Like, that was like a huge deal that we had used keyboards.
Not keyboards.
We had become friends with Matt Sharp from Weezer and the Rentals, and he was like, I really want to play on your record. And so he brought up his Moog and like a bunch of different synths. And so we had him play on the record. And I remember when we released it, all the interviews that we did initially were like, so you guys used to be more like a folk band and now you're kind of like a synth pop band, and what made you decide to change? And this is such a departure. So it's been really interesting because each record, there's sort of a new thing that becomes like a focal point for people. And, you know, as you said, I think as we get older, we just change. We're influenced by different things. Tegan and I always want to be pushing the limits. I think the people that we see as our contemporaries and our peers in the music industry, I would hate to think that I was biting anybody's style or trying too hard to sound like something else. But then on the other hand, you're constantly surrounded by all these people and inspired by them, and you're listening to music. I don't want to be out of touch or out of date either.
Well, and you also don't want to be, your first album should not sound like your 7th album.
Oh,
You've learned so much.
Again, I think we should write down all the things you're saying, and then we should just say them, because you'd be surprised. A lot of the people that are interviewing us, you know, I think that they're shocked to hear that. Like, they think that it was like, it's like, oh, really? Like, you thought you could make a different sounding record?
Well,
it's
and
like,
I read some of the comments under videos and stuff, and some people, I'm like, get over yourself.
Yeah. Oh, well, those people have been around since the beginning. I was laughing about this on the other night, that the first video that we ever had on Much Music was this song called The First from our record, This Business of Art. And at this point, I think we probably had like as many hands as fingers, you know, or many hands as fingers, as many fans as fingers on our hands.
Yes.
We had we had no career. We had no career to speak of at that point. We really were just like a new, very, very new band. And I remember we had this email address that people could, like, you know, send whatever feedback, like info@teganandsara or .com or something.
That's dangerous.
And I remember getting an email from this guy. We mostly got nice emails. And I remember our video played on Much Music, and he wrote, like, I saw your video on Much Music. I hate you. I think your music is horrible. Like, this whole brutal, brutal email. And I just remember thinking, this is significant, because at this point we'd been playing for like friends and family, and for the most part getting accolades and praise from the people who loved us and were acknowledging us. And then to suddenly have someone sort of trolling us and like being like, you suck, I wish you were dead. To think that this guy took energy and time out of his day to write us. And I thought to myself, well, this is the beginning. This is what a career is. It's having to deal with the positive and the negative, and end up somewhere in the middle, and know. And
there's always those people that have too much time on their hands to write you an email.
Yeah, and the internet, unfortunately, you know, it fans those flames where people who need to be online and talk about things, and people who love to be critical, they have a venue for that and a platform for that. So we'd stay away from that. What's more important to me is that our friends and family, the people who we respect in the industry, other bands, our fans, like, those are the people who are sort of taking a sample of what they're saying and what they're feeling. Some of it's good, some of it's not good, and we sort of assess then, okay, what are the next steps? What can we do better? How can we change our sound and make a different sounding record, but still appease the audience who wants to still hear us playing like acoustically? You know, like, how do we do all of that?
This is kind of random, but I was thinking about it as I was getting ready today for the interview, and I was listening to Back in Your Head. Mm-hmm. That song, to me, I was going through something when we're not going through something. But I think when everybody listens to certain songs, certain points in their life, they can relate. Either they're listening and they're like, every lyric meant something to me. And I know I will never admit this again, but sometimes songs choke you up. Sometimes you bawl your eyes out. When you're performing these songs, because you write really personal songs, and even though this album's a lot happier, a lot of your songs are personal about relationships and things going on in your life. Are you on stage like breaking down into tears, or trying not to when you sing those songs?
No. I mean, generally we're actually probably quite past whatever it is that we've written about, like, you know, partly because we usually are writing about our past, but also because by the time you get on stage and you've played it live, you have recorded it and put it on record and released it and talked about it for months.
So you're over it. So you're okay?
You kind of processed it. But,
so I should stop crying over that song?
Well, no, but that's the thing I was just about to say was that when I look out into the audience and I see the people in the audience being affected by the song, it does move me. And it moves me because there is something kind of magical, not to get all cheesy, but like there's something very magical about me sitting in my apartment, writing a song about something that happened to me, recording it, releasing it, you hearing it, you buying a ticket to the show, showing up and standing right in front of me and singing it back at me, like, and being visibly moved by that. There's just some sort of like, I mean, it's just amazing. It's so incredible. So we find that very moving. There's one song off of one of our earlier records called 19. And our old sound guy used to always like come backstage after the show and he'd be like, I saw 3 people crying tonight. Like, it was like, we used to keep track of how many people cried during that song.
I promise not to cry at your next concert. I promise.
Writing that song, I cried 1,000,000 times experiencing the things that I experienced to get to a point where I could even feel that. So I don't cry on stage, but I definitely have a lot of like, you know, memories. I think sometimes about how many times I cried.
It's also very significant to us that you can find something to, you know, in the songs that applies to your own life. Like, that's the whole point. I'm not up on stage so that people, I like, what's not important to me is that you understand why I wrote the song. It's not that important to me. You know, it's important to me that you find something significant in that song. And we're just there to provide, we're the conduit. You know, we're performing it for you, not for ourselves.
It'd be too narcissistic if we stood on stage and projected too much about what our version of the song is about.
Yeah.
Okay, so Heartthrob is out January 29th for everyone who's going to go and get it. And I know everyone is. Just like really quick, just sum up both of you from each of you, this album to you. You said before an interview it's happier.
I think that there are tracks on the record that are definitely more upbeat. Like a song like Closer definitely has a romantic feel to it, and certainly the music is really upbeat. There's a few other tracks like that on the record. Bodywork's
I danced to it.
Though,
it's not. Oh, okay.
It's not on, but it is.
I danced to it in a hip hop class.
That you should make you dance because that song is supposed to.
I almost opened the interview doing the routine.
If you were saying that you were crying during that song, I'd be like something wrong with you.
No, I was not crying.
But the rest of the record, Heartthrob, like the other tracks that are on there, I mean, there's tracks that are really sad. I mean, they're still upbeat, like they're still powerful ballad type, you know, like very pop sounding songs. But I think this is actually probably one of our most heartfelt and vulnerable records. And I think there's just going to be some darkness. I only read one review so far, but the review is actually really dead on. And it was like, you know, fans of Tegan and Sara who hold on to like the Con specifically as being this crazy heartbreak record and it's their favorite, that this record, Heartthrob, trumps it. That it sounds so positive and happy and dancey, but that it's actually the most depressing Tegan and Sara record we've ever written.
Great. So there you go. Can't wait. Can't wait to get it.
All you depressed people out there, this is your record.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.